Hello. Greetings, everyone. Happy Saturday. I am imagining today's going to be a little quieter. Reason being is the majority of my friends are off at Dr. Kiltz's soiree in Florida. Let me put the comments on the chat. There is Angel. Hello, Angel. Hi, how are you? And happy Saturday to you, Sharon. Lynn, hiya, howdy. And there's our girl Tanya. Forest dwellers unite. It is almost 30 degrees outside. I am enjoying it. Every degree. Warmer the better. No snow. Lucky. There's John. Hello, John. And hello, Miss Amy. And hi, Angela Mullins. Hello, how are you? Today we're going to do something absolutely different, but right in my wheelhouse. We're going to talk about my real estate adventures. I have a whole bunch of them in my memory, but I wrote because you guys know I have a tendency to do squirrel moments. I'm going to turn this cell phone off just to be respectful of the crowd. I have had 3 potential coaching clients today, already talked to them. They all 3 want to start. One person wants to start in April because she's going on vacation in March. So that's fine. Let's see, what is everybody saying? Angela Mullins is saying it snowed again yesterday. Let me pop that up again. It snowed again yesterday here in Central Virginia. Thankfully, it did not add to what we already have. You guys are seriously getting, ooh, Jerry trivia. You guys are seriously getting hits. I'm I'm grateful by the grace of God, that we have not gotten more snow than what we did. I fear, well, I don't fear, but I believe that our winter's not over. Didn't that groundhog just see his shadow and they're talking 6 more weeks of winter? Yeah, okay. So, as I was saying, because I have a tendency, usually, the steering wheel's in my hands, and I have a tendency to go off track and have squirrel moments. Don't want that to happen. I brought notes, I brought receipts. Everybody's saying hello to everybody. And Tanya is absolutely right because you never know these questions that I'm going to ask. Will they come up again in any trivia questions somewhere in a party or an event down the road? You never know. Hey, Amy's got 4 or 5 inches again? Amy, is it ever going to stop for you? Wow. Wow. Angel, cheers, everyone. Thank you. I don't I don't know. Will they? I don't know either. Usually we'll get a doozy here in northwestern Wisconsin. We just do. Hello, Thomas. How are you? Okay, let me start. Again, I took notes of just some of the more interesting, colorful real estate topics. We'll start with one of my favorite ones, contracts. This always was my favorite. Sitting down, meeting with people face to face. Love them. Sharon's got 50 mile per hour winds and a negative wind chill in Delaware. Wow. Just wow. Jerry, did you hear that Chris Cookie Nashville and Ash Taylor are performing at the Kilts Chicago meetup? No, I did not know that. That's very exciting. Listen, I was thinking yesterday as I was on Barbara's channel that I'm surprised they didn't have Barbara's playlist playing softly during the get to know each other, the social events. However, Kilts did do the live broadcast there, so maybe that would have overtaken the conversation, all that singing and music and stuff. But I did not know that. That's great to hear. Thanks for the info. Meeting people face to face. I think I'm a very personable person, and contracts are my specialty. So when I started this job, moving up north, retiring from real estate after 24 years, it was a step back for me. I was so used to people, people, people constantly all the time. But when I came up here, I couldn't people with these realtor people. They're different. I didn't want to sell farms. I didn't want to talk about the meets and bounds, as they say, measuring units, how many units. For those of you realtors that do farms, I have never sold a farm in my life. I have sold acreage, totally different beast. But when you're talking about selling farms and profits, and is there animals involved? Is there crops involved? Too much math for me. I'm not a math specialist. All I know is when I sat down with a customer, first and foremost, contracts, verbiage, key, very special. I started with my 10 fingers. You guys all heard this story before and how I'm incorporating the 10 fingers into my coaching. So I let people know right out of the jump, I charge 10% commission. If I was a realtor today, I would still charge 10% commission. Even in this market, it makes sense. I work very hard for it. I used to write, I never gave my secrets out when I was in the industry. So, those of you that are practicing realtors, start taking notes right now because this could be a turning point in your real estate career. Make promises not with your tongue, make promises on paper. There's such a thing as blank addendum in any state of this great United States. Just blank sheets, addendum 1, addendum 27. You can write to your heart's delight. And there's many blanks and spaces in a contract. I have been known to fill them up to the gills. I would specifically write I charge 10% commission if I would sell the property within 1 week. Me personally, Jerry, in 1 week, I will reduce my commission to 6%. What? That's a lot. That's a lofty goal to tell somebody for $100,000 house, give me a full 10%, $10,000 to sell your house. Now, if I didn't sell that property in a week, the commission would still be 10%. It would be for a certain amount of time agreed upon. Now, I haven't taken that and mixed it up with my coaching. For example, I can't say I'll charge you, I'm just going to throw out a ridiculous number, ridiculous made up number. I can't charge you $10,000 in a contract to lose weight. And for every pound that you don't lose, I will pay you $1,000. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be grand? That would be insanity. You have to make a lot of money. You have to make a lot of money in the real estate industry. There's your wear and tear of your vehicle. Your clothing isn't a deduction, so to speak, but you want to wear nice things. And the days of high heels are done for this girl. Completely done. No more. But I have sold many for example, $100,000 house and gotten $10,000 in commission myself. And yes, I have sold houses for 6% commission in 1 week. price, location, and condition. They always say, oh, it's location, location, location. No, it's not. Price, location, and condition all are relative. You cannot sell, you can sell a retro 1950s house to a retro 1950s buyer looking specifically for that. Those buyers are few and far in between. So if you're one of those retro people, there are senior citizens selling their house or the estates of their house. That time just stood still. That was our house in Franklin. I loved it. I did not have a pink bathroom. Pink and black were very popular for the 50s for whatever reason. Hey, Mason. Hi, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the show. Taking notes, Mason. Yep, everybody's going to take notes because these may be questions that you may or may not win prizes for later on this month, as a matter of fact. The Realtors and Brokers Opens. What is a broker's open? A broker's open is when the listing broker, me, writes specifically in the real estate contract. I have a lot of things that I write into the real estate contract. I won't talk about them all today because time is of the essence, as they say in the business. The brokers opens, you invite your real estate offices, your co-brokes. For example, I worked for Coldwell Banker. We would invite Remax, Shore West, ABC Real Estate, 2.4 Real Estate. They're, those discount brokers are out there, and they knew Jerry's got a listing, it's 10%. But my contract, they didn't know, except you know now my secret. The 10% commission will be paid out by the seller for a property sales final agreed upon sales price with no concessions, no give me money off for the windows or the roof or whatever the case may be. Full price offer, no concessions at time of closing. So, $100,000 house, just making simple math for you guys. Listing broker understands that's me. It's a 10% commission. I get 6, they get 4. The standard in the industry is 2.4% commission. That's a typical co-broke of a 6% commission. They also know that if they bring me a buyer, full price or not and over without any concessions. In other words, when you're going to bring your buyer, you you tell them what the area is going for. If you're a buyer's agent realtor acting in your buyer's best interest, you're going to pull the comps, you're going to pull the sales statistics of that particular house. There's not going to be sales statistics of a house that was built in 1952 in which the children are now executors of the property and are selling it. That's their first sale of their 1952 house. That's just a fact. But if you're an agent for the seller, acting in the seller's best fiduciary duty, you're going to want to get as much money for the seller as possible. You are not contractually obligated. You didn't list the property. I did. I'd also be very careful. I would tell people expressly, whatever you want me to know, tell me. If you don't want me to know anything, before you open your mouth and speak, one mouth, two ears, two eyes, before you say, see, or hear anything, that I could see, hear, smell, sense any of the above, I'm still compelled by the law because I didn't ever want to meet the man, sexist, sorry, with the black robe and the gavel that sits on a perch in a courtroom ever. To this day, I don't do it. You have to be very careful in today's day and age. Now, with an electronic society that we have, there's just far too many scams. I loved the real estate contract. I loved writing my truths and speaking my truths on paper because that can be held up in a court of law. If I write it, it's gospel. Same with my coaching. I'm not going to talk about coaching, it's a real estate discussion today. But I'm just giving you bits and pieces, bits and pieces. Let's see who's all popping on here. Later, everybody got around. Weekly shopping run. Excellent. Thank you, John. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. Good luck. I'm debating whether or not to go shopping later today myself. Do I go today? Do I go tomorrow when I go to church? I don't know. I have a coaching call later this afternoon that I have to tend to, and that I'm very excited, looking forward to it. I also would believe in a handshake clause with people. I speak my words, I shake hands. I shake hands with sincerity. I don't shake like a limp noodle. Whatever business dealings we have, and if I meet you the first, however I meet you, sometimes I can, like Tanya, for example, I would meet Tanya and I'd give her a big old hug because I like the girl from what I see on the chats. Like her a lot. Probably the same with Amy. I usually don't bear hug people. I don't. Not typically. After working with a client, after some time of working with them, you're going to work with them in selling their house. You're going to work with them in buying a house, hopefully. So therefore, that's a double pop, if you will. Triple pop is when you list their house, you bring them a buyer, and you sell them a house. The possibilities are endless when you talk about their relatives, their children. It all rolls. It all rolls downhill, and you will benefit even in the coaching business, like in real estate. Yeah, Tanya's right. You got that right with the hugs. Let's see. Angela says, John, you asked about the blue blocker glasses. I don't know about the brands, but have found out I don't like the way ones that also block green light. Interesting. I don't own any blue blocker glasses. Usually you'll see the orange ones. Now the clear ones are starting to become more in fashion. Hey, there's Debbie. Hi, everybody. Debbie. Debbie says, hi, everyone. Welcome, Debbie. And Mason says, hello to you. Debbie, we're talking about real estate. I just finished the Brokers Open part. We, as the listing broker, will bring the food and we lay out all the food. Everybody looks at the house, they eat, they socialize, catch up. It's similar to the YouTube chats. Everybody says hello. We, as realtors, are just so in our business, in our own little lives, or in this case, in our own little channels, that when there is a meet up, a gathering of folks like they're doing in Florida, it's a homecoming of sorts. Same with the Brokers Open. Man, did I cook the food back then. And it was not the type of food that I would eat today. Lots of pasta, lots of fried things, lots of tons of sugar. Realtors and sugar, let me tell you. No, it is no wonder that I blew up as big as I was in the industry. Not a wonder whatsoever. We'll have drawings there. We'll have sometimes alcohol. That's a big thing with realtors. We realtors used to like to tip them back. If you know, you know, right? Now, let's talk about some of the nightmarish things. I have quite a few notes here. Oh, here, this is an interesting one. A bungalow. I really don't mention anybody's names because let's be frank, I have been out of the real estate business now and moved up north here for 18 years. Maybe I forgot these people. I talk a lot about styles of houses, a Frank Lloyd Wright style. And those were very popular in Racine and Kenosha counties, southeastern Wisconsin. The bungalow, the Polish flat. Usually it was 3 levels. Polish flats were usually occupied by one family on one level, another family on another level, and the attic would be for the eldest child, or in our case, that would be our little play area. And as children, we would play when our cousins would come for the holidays. We'd all go upstairs. Our attic in one of the houses that we had was not heated. That was a Polish flat, was not heated. Then we moved from that house to a bungalow further west. And that property was super insulated. It was so stinking hot in the summer, and cousins would come over. We'd be playing upstairs, couldn't open up the windows. Oh no, you'll let the bugs in. But we're dying. Go play upstairs. Get your Barbies. Go play upstairs. Whatever. So the architecture of a lot of these bungalows, people didn't change. They bought houses because they liked the architecture or they liked the wood, and a lot of the woodwork was removed from back in the day, from the 40s. Beautiful woodwork. My parents had refinished all the woodwork of our bungalow, and my mother, man, no wonder, shoot, sometimes it makes you wonder the chemicals that she used in taking off layers and layers and layers of paint. We had the real wood paneling in what was our dining room, the book cabinets, book built-in bookshelves that were there that of course had the not one but 2 sets of encyclopedias. Who owns a set of encyclopedias other than Rick? Who can answer that question? Seriously. No, I got rid of ours too. My son, when you would go grocery shopping and you would spend $20, you'd get a book. That was a perk back then. Well, I had them and had all the entire set. So then I asked him when he went up to college, well, do you want this encyclopedia set? He said, Mom, the internet will have all of these things. Then I said to him, you'll be sorry. No, said no one ever that got rid of their encyclopedia sets. Man, we never cooked. Ours were always catered at a builder's location. That's fabulous, Debbie. We dealt with a few builders, and those builders would do those events as you're speaking about those. However, the brokers opens that we did, we, as the listing broker, brought in the food. Now, there were the fancy schmancy realtors that would not cook their own food. I was even hired by fancy schmancy realtors because they liked my food to cater their brokers' opens and their soirees if they didn't deal with a Saz's. Well, that was a Milwaukee catering establishment, or Mamma Mia's. That was, they were known for their Italian catered food. Usually, you would not want spaghetti or lasagna at a broker's open because paper plates, stains. Yeah, I didn't want to be liable for that. Tanya says, I bet you my dad still has ours. He keeps everything. I'm going to ask him. Encyclopedia. Interesting. And Lynn saying, ha, we had two full sets of encyclopedias when I was growing up. It took up so much room. LOL. True. Us also. The encyclopedia from what I call my parents' first family, which really was my brother, 18 years older than me, my oldest sister, and then my sister Mary Jo, 9 years older than me. That edition of encyclopedias, we had that. My mother would fill out when a new president would come in. She'd get to the presidents and she'd put down the 38th president, the 40th, et cetera, and then she'd write their name. Then we got a second set of encyclopedias for me and my youngest sister to own those. So the old and the new, we got rid of them. Oh my goodness. Rick is the only one that I know right now that actually has it, because we see it on his Saturday videos. Pardon me. The bungalow style houses, you couldn't change them on the extra. Well, I'm sure you can't. Many Chicago houses, the Cream City bricks, they're on very, very, very small lots. So people go up in Chicago and they build third and fourth stories. If you're on the east side of Milwaukee, northeast, southeast, Cudahy, anything lakeshore, you go up. That really irks the neighbors that are behind you. If you had a Milwaukee bungalow and you were within eye shot of Lake Michigan and you wanted to go up and your neighbor could see Lake Michigan, they would get so irked by you going up and building, bettering your house. Yeah, neighborhood wars. It's a thing. It really is. People don't like, you own all the real estate from the ground to the sky. You can do whatever you want to. My husband's mother's house, that's what they did in Chicago as well. They decided to blow off a roof and make a whole other level, whole other living level upstairs, and that's what they did. But this particular story, it had to have, it was under 5 years, and these kids came upon some money. They were strapped for money trying to buy the house. It was their first house. They had one, they had two, and now they're looking at their third child. Well, they came upon some money that they were able to do remodeling to their house. So they started tearing down interior walls because they spoke with a contractor. Can I do this? If I go up, how can I tear down this wall and yet not have your house fall down upon itself, so to speak? So as they were tearing down walls in the interior, they found money. Money, as in what they called back in the day silver certificates, money, paper, cash, dinero. And who's the first person they call? Me. 5 years after the fact. Now, it was one of those estate houses. Why are they calling me? I say, call the police. Don't call me. Call your mother. Call whomever. Say, hey, it's a good thing they weren't torching the house because whew, that would have all blown up. But they didn't know what to do. So what I had to do is try and locate the family members that sold the parents' houses. The reason I bring up this 1952 house is this is what happened to me in a real estate transaction. The kids sold the parents' house. 5 years later, that the executrix, the female executor, she had passed away 3 years ago. There wasn't anybody in the family to trace back and give the money back to the family. This was the only family that Joneses were my buyers, the Smiths were my sellers. Everybody was deceased from the old sellers from the 1952 house. The executor did not have any children. So, was it a crime scene? No, I'm going to assume that the person that lived there, as we all assumed, the person that lived there didn't believe in banks. Oh, maybe they had money in boxes, but who would have ever thunk that they'd be putting money in the walls? Fire happens. You know what I mean? It wasn't a wall because I had to go back to this house and see this because I wanted to see it myself. I didn't take pictures or any of that stuff. You didn't do that kind of stuff like everybody does nowadays. Give me the cell phone, click, 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 start taking pictures. You didn't do that. I just wanted to see it with my own eyes. So it wasn't near a heat exchange, a heat vent. It was, as a matter of fact, right by the cold air outlet. And they estimated that in just all these monies, over $100,000, just looking at it, what the total count was, I don't remember. It's been that many years. That was just what they said. Hey, I think there's probably over $100,000 in this wall. Wall, section after section after section, loaded. It was like a bootlegger's house, or it may have very well been a bootlegger's house. You would think in today's day and age it could have been drugs, maybe. But back in the day, you never know. Let's catch up with some of the chat here. Here, Sharon, those encyclopedias now would likely have a book lice or silverfish chomping on that old glue. Absolutely. That's another one of the stories that I thought about, but now that you bring this up, I remember my parents having books up in the attic, and they talked about the silverfish. My mother bought some from a pharmacy, boric acid, and that was used around the books because of what she had said with these silverfish. So the silverfish would touch the boric acid, and I guess it would burn their little feet, but that seemed to have remedied that. I, of course, moved out of the house, and all the books, that was gone by the time I got to cleaning up the house for my dad to be able to sell it later in after my mother had passed away and before um when he listed it, because at the time I was not a practicing realtor at that time. Or worse, that's definitely not helpful or even contributing to Rick's terrible allergies. Absolutely. Ew, bugs inside. There is nothing like the smell of an old book. Absolutely. Jerry, do you have any Super Bowl plans for tomorrow? No, I don't. I don't watch the Super Bowl. I won't be tuning into it. I will more than likely either be in the stores late after church. I'm going to go on to Amy's live. I think there is Kid Rock is supposed to be performing. Somebody said he's doing the alternate. I have not watched with intent any true news programs within the last week. Things have been crazy busy in my coaching business right now. One lady just finished, very, very happy. Now she's starting to refer business to me. So, like I said, the 10% commission, it's starting to roll. It's starting to roll in for me, and that's fabulous. So that was one of the money stories. Let's talk about money story number two. Money story number two happened with a wall in the basement that was bowing, and the wall, because it was bowing, had to be rebuilt and taken down. In that wall was more money, except this was silver coins and cash money and dollars. Talk about the smell of old books. The smell of old money is something too. Now, it was protected within the blocks. It was all encased in the block, so I'm sure it was built that way. How they fed it or funneled the money down there, I don't even know. Same thing happened. The contractor with the basement construction business had to chisel it all down, get rid of the old, rebuild up a new wall. Okay, now what do we have here? We got cash. That was another considerable amount of money. People back in the day, they just didn't all put them in their mattresses. They shoved them in walls. Walls, in my case, one story. And that basement wall was the other one. Yeah, smelly, moldy, old money. Yuck. Yuck. Let's talk about some of the home inspector nightmares that I have encountered. Not one time would I ever, if the home inspector ever asked me to climb up a ladder and go and look at a roof, that ain't happening. Oh, there were a lot of guy realtors, hate to be sexist about it, but that's how they were. Guys that would go up and the home inspector would say, well, this part of the roof feels soft or whatever. No, you realtors need to stay on the ground. That is out of your wheelhouse. If your realtor says, I'm going to get up there and inspect a roof, that's like saying you, as a health coach, are going to diagnose somebody's problem medically. You better not be doing it. I am not a home inspector and I don't play one on TV. Used to be my lingo that was said. Hey, I'm sorry you have a bad roof. Your home inspector knows a lot of things, a little bit about a lot of things. So if there were only a few she's back in the day, if he feels as though you have a bad roof, we're going to write it in the counter offer that you're going to have a roofing expert come in to reevaluate whatever the roof problem is. Now, reality is when they say, the roofers tell you, this roof has a lifetime guarantee. You'll be lucky if you get 20 years out of a roof, in my opinion. We had a complete tear off of our house is 18 years old. We had a complete tear off about 5 years ago ourselves. Yeah, brand new roof. Okay. I think this is going to be our last roof, though. Ooh, that was good. Protein coffee today. I've seen home inspectors fall off of ladders. I've seen them fall off of roofs, fall off of sheds. I have seen home inspectors go with binoculars from across the street to visually ascertain the condition of a roof because they were afraid of heights and they never got up there. So if they could go across the street with their binoculars and look at the roof, that is, of course, in the summer, because in the winter you can't check it out. Oh, you can see signs from internally if you're in an attic and you see moisture. You may feel comfortable getting on a step ladder and feeling the wood if it feels that way. This is what I've seen the professional home inspectors do. But the professional home inspectors sometimes did not get up on a roof. They're not going to go up in winter, and home inspections take place in spring, summer, fall, winter, all the seasons. They do. They're not going to inspect it. They're not going to shovel the snow and talk about it. Now, on a real estate condition report, RECR, that's used the seller when they're completing the form. Have you ever had any problems with your roof, your plumbing? Yes, no, non-applicable, pardon me, or see below. That's when the seller would write down their truths. Again, if I hear you say something, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, that would be a detriment to this property. If I hear, for example, if I hear you say that you took asbestos off of the property yourself, it would be one of those hands, face palms for me. You just don't do that kind of stuff. Now that you told me, now we have to talk about it because you mentioned it. Where did you take it off of? Let's have a professional come in. How was it abated? Was it abated properly? Did you throw it in the garbage? Did you take it off to the landfill? All those things. Issues. I'm going to talk about going to see my parents' property that was on the market after the property was sold. That's an interesting story right there. One home inspector was up in the attic of a property that had been vacant. It was a lake property. It had been vacant for probably over 10 years. Nobody had lived there. It had issues. It had critters. You name the critters. Probably didn't have silverfish, but it had critters. I don't like critters. I don't like critters that crawl. I don't like critters that run. I don't like critters that fly. I don't like bats. I know they're useful and they all serve a purpose. Doesn't mean that I like them. But he fell through the ceiling because the ceiling was the attic that was up there was over insulated, dry rotted, fell right through the ceiling. I'm in the living room doing whatever I was doing, Ba-choom! I see a leg come out of the ceiling. What the heck is this? That's okay, Jerry. I'm all right. Yelling at me from upstairs. I said, "Are you okay? That that's not right." Well, home inspectors have to have errors and omissions insurance as well. Stuff happens. Home inspector had his insurance company come in, had to fix it, bring it back to the same condition as it was. Well, it was better than before. Fixing that hole. It was just that hole he had to fix. He didn't have to redo the entire ceiling of that living room, even though it was all dry rotted. Oh, incredible. The shacks that, for example, on Lake Geneva, back in the day, they had little shacks that people would come up from Chicago, and it would be their vacation place, their shack. They'd have the outhouses outside, but they'd have maybe 15 people in this 2-room shack. Kept it in the family for the longest time. Said, won't serve our purpose. We'll sell it. Sold the vacant property on Lake Geneva for astronomical $2.7 million because it was prime lake in Wisconsin real estate property. Yeah, stuff like that happens now. Usually what happens is, in these cases with the families, they build on, they build up, they build out, they build these beautiful, you've heard of the Wrigley fame, Wrigley Ballpark in Chicago, same thing, Wrigley Mansion. Yeah, all of those beautiful properties, the higher the sales price, the higher the headaches I used to have being a realtor. I used to love selling properties to people that really needed a place to live, but they were strapped financially for their funds. Maybe they were on the government assistance. You can buy a house that way. You can. Houses were way cheaper back in the day. It was not uncommon to sell a house in a neighborhood that needed TLC for $30,000. The commission was small. My reward, the heartfelt commission, was great for me. Pardon me. My lips are super dry. Super dry. Tis the season. I used to do late night showings. I would tell my clients on paper, on a contract, I will show your property 24 hours a day if need be. What does that mean, Jerry? That doesn't mean if it's 2 in the morning and you're sleeping and your babies just came back from the hospital that I'm going to ring your doorbell and say, I'm here. I want to show your house right now. No, it doesn't mean that. Within a certain allotted time, people go on vacation. They go on vacation. I tell them, great, enjoy your time in Florida for 2 weeks. Please understand, I will be showing it as needed basis. I would tell my husband, Jack, who I'm showing it to. I would take a driver's license photocopy of said person's upon meeting a buyer for the first time. I did a lot of buyer agency representing the buyers and the buyer's best interests, meeting them face to face. If I never met you for the first time, I'm not going face to face. I'm not going to meet you at a remote location somewhere in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at 2:00 in the morning. That ain't happening. Common sense comes into play. I have been called to do that before. I did not do it. Mama didn't raise no fool. So the late night showings, sellers would like that when I would say if the need arise that you were going to go somewhere, I would write an addendum about me being able to show your property. That was just part of my shtick. Vacant properties, that was my favorite. Teamsters, those were my best selling. To sell a house, gotta be sexual about it. This was my reality. The best sales were for heart, people that really needed a house that financially they were strapped, but they wanted to have real estate. They wanted property. The best common sense sales for me were the truck drivers, the single male truck drivers. They wanted to come in from the road at 1, 2 in the morning, look at a couple of vacant properties, show me those. Let's go into the office at 4 in the morning, write contracts. I'm leaving the office at 6 in the morning as the realtors are starting to come in for office meetings 7, 8, 9. I'm going to bed. But I had a profitable evening the night before showing properties. Late night showings, love them. I did contractual listings on paper, sending contracts to people, FedEx, next day air, doing that, doing faxing. We didn't have that electronic stuff. I got out of it in '08 when we moved up here. When my son graduated from school, that's when Jack says, we're going to retire. Well, I still wanted to sell real estate, but I would travel from here down south, sell real estate anywhere in the state. And I sold within the confines of the state, all over the place. Even when we moved up here, I would sell houses, real estate referrals from my office. The guys and girls, they didn't want to come up to Ladysmith and do a listing. They would just as soon say, Jerry, pay me a referral fee and you list this property, because they know I was the 10% commission realtor. So they didn't have to do anything except say, here's the name, Tom and Mary Smith, 123 Main Street, Ladysmith, Wisconsin. Go list it, go sell it. It was easy money for them. It was good. When I do listings and I write that expressly in a listing contract that I would be available to people 24 hours a day, it meant sometimes waking me up because I didn't stay up all the time. Man, if you think about it, all the sugar, all the seed oils, all the alcohol, all the things that I don't do today that I used to do back in the day. Man, no wonder I was so fat and unhealthy. Just sat around driving in my car, get up, go up a staircase or two, show a couple of bedrooms, point like Vanna White. Over here's the bathroom. Duh, I can't tell by that big porcelain bowl in the middle of the room. Shenanigans. But I had encountered times where selling a property, showing a property at 2 in the morning, actually had the police called on me because I was there showing a property, banging on the door. Who are you? Because I'd be in there with a flashlight, right? Or a lantern, or some electric device that was operated by a battery so that I could show for the first time this truck driver that just got off of work, just got out of his 18-wheeler, wanted to see this house. Oh, guess what? No electricity, but they wanted to see it right now. Bang, bang, bang. Who are you? Guns drawn. Yeah. Okay. Here's my officer. I'm going to go into my purse right now and show you my real estate license. Well, the buyer's freaking out. Well, hands up. The cop says, hands up. You got to stick your hands up. Yeah. That was exciting. So I had learned after that incident early in my career that I'm going to, if I have to do any of those showings with a listing of mine, I'm going to go around to the neighbors. Number one, I'm going to introduce myself, give them my business card because that's good business practice to do. Let them know I may or may not be showing properties, this property that I just listed, your neighbor's property, your backyard neighbor, your somebody 2 doors away. Don't be alarmed. If you are doing a neighborhood watch and you're watching Mr. and Miss Smith's vacant property for them, it might be me that's in the house. I will be the only one doing vacant showings. Now, has it ever come across where a co-broke realtor, let's say Remax, wanted to show a house at an, as they call it, an ungodly time? Yes, I would meet them there because I don't know. Unless I specifically know it was Jane Doe, the realtor from Remax, and I have a good business relationship or I look them up and I know who they are, would I give them the lockbox combo to gain access to the property? But if they're going at 1 o'clock in the morning, I can sit in my car at the curb and they don't know I'm there. But I'm just visually making sure that everything's doing well with my seller's property. They entrusted it to me. Ask any realtor, even today, if they would do such a thing. Few and far in between would. So showing happenings after hours isn't a common thing to do, but by you introducing yourselves to the neighbors and letting them know that you do that, you can get a lot of referral business from them. Okay, touchy subject right here. One time, only one time, I found a deceased body in a property. And no, it wasn't when I worked for my business that I owned with the ex husband. That wasn't the case. It wasn't a matter of me going in with a gurney and a couple of my employees because we had to pick up a body for the medical examiner. No, it was a contractor that had been called in to fix flooring of a property, and that contractor was there fixing the flooring, had a heart attack. I didn't know it. The sellers didn't know it. The property was vacant. I came upon it, absolutely freaked out. The man was dead for almost, they said, almost 3 days. That he was due to schedule to fix the flooring, let's say on Monday. Well, when I was there on Thursday, that's when I found the body. It's a crime scene. You're not going to do a showing right then and there. You tell your prospective buyer, which in this particular instance, they weren't with me. I called them up on my phone and I said, we cannot go and see 123 Main Street today. Well, Jerry, why? I really wanted to see it. I loved it. The price is good. It's in a great neighborhood, whatever. I said, it is now a crime scene. There is a deceased body in the property. What? This particular buyer said, I don't even want to go back to the house. They were that bent on not buying any property in which somebody had died in the property. But the sellers didn't sell in the property. The guy had a heart attack. Stuff happens. He wasn't murdered. It was an accident. The contractor had a heart attack. Stuff happens. What are you gonna do? That was a boy. That was something for me. Seeing I here's a good. My next note here is a good topic. Going to see former houses that I lived as a child. I actually was lucky enough to see houses that I lived in when I was a little girl. One was in Cudahy. That's when I was born. That's where I was created. I was made in Cudahy. I saw that property. I went in to see my second property, which was a Polish flat. Grandma lived downstairs, then my brother, etc., us, and then the spare attic on the upper level. I saw that because I just so happened to be a realtor in the neighborhood showing properties, and I drove past this house and I said, I'm bold. For kicks and giggles, I do stuff that a lot of people won't do because it's me. That's how I roll. I rang the doorbell and I said, "Hello," gave them my business card. "I'm not here to sell your house and I'm not here to give you a pitch. I was a little girl that lived in this house in the 60s. Would you mind if I take a look around and just go down memory lane?" Well, I'm speaking a foreign tongue, English, to somebody that answered the door. Un momento. Had to get another family member, could have been a son, grandchild, whatever the case may be. A teenage boy came. I let them know the teenage boy, who I was, why I was there, what the plans were. Well, they invited me in, showed me around, showed me everything. And I stayed there for about an hour and a half. We had some coffee, they made me tacos. It was a wonderful thing, all with the interpretation of their son or their grandson that was there. And I got to see my childhood house. So yeah, I loved it. Loved it. Now, the house that my parents had last owned when my mother was living, I had the opportunity to be able to see it before we moved up north. I saw that it was listed. It was right in the transition period, us moving, etc., etc. I didn't have the opportunity. The listing lapsed and I never got to see the house. I would have loved to see it. But with that house, do you remember the Ponderosa steakhouses back in the day? Do I have any chatters? Oh, my Lanza, I have to catch up with the chat. Let's read a little bit of the chat. My apologies, everybody. I'm so sorry. I have my World Book encyclopedias and Child Craft encyclopedia, says Angela. Book? DS111. Hey, book? What that? LOL, DS, says Angela. Angela, hopefully I will watch the Puppy Bowl tomorrow. Fantastic. I am so sorry. Oh, I've been like gabbing. I've been having my own squirrel moment in the basement. Dia said an old building inspector told me the pyramids were supposed to be big cubes, but they were a little off at the bottom and they got more and more pointed. They just said, F it. Must be an inspector's school joke. My first house was originally a 2-room house built in 1919. That's when my dad was born. The last addition was added in the 1950s. Sharon says, yep, me too. The first time home buyers. Hello, Jerry and everyone. Hi, Cindy. I'm slacking. You're probably thinking Jerry's been gabbing on, not checking the chat. Shame on you, Jerry. Shame. Cindy says, 2 a.m. I would have called the cops if somebody came to my door at that hour. LOL. When the police showed up, I would have pointed to the truck driver and said, he's the one you want. Oh, DS is fun. Cindy, hello there. Jerry is yakking on the phone, so to speak. LOL. Yeah, oh my goodness, I have missed so much of the chat. I have a bunch of really gross stories for back when I was a low income apartment manager. OMG, dead people in units until the neighbors would report flies on the door and such. I also hated showing units to scary people. So true. Most people would rent the apartments sight unseen due to the fact that they were in a government program that placed them there. You never knew what you were going to get. Hello, Terry. Most of the tenants, Terry said, hi, Terry. I'm so glad that you guys are here and you are an understanding group with my squirrel basement moments. Most of the tenants were disabled in one way or another, many just drug addicts and products of the welfare genre. I learned a lot from those people. Terry girl, yeah, I wouldn't want my daughter to do work like that with the public. I have heard of incidents where realtor ladies get into a problem where a man shows up and she's alone in the house. That's exactly what I didn't want to do. My husband was always went with me when I had to show a unit. If it felt sketchy, if I felt the sketchy feel, I would stay at the front door and just let them walk around to check it. John's back. John's back. Terry says she's still in communication with a few of the tenants. I like there. The place is crazy now. Hey, Patricia. Hi, how are you? Patricia, I'm just absolutely slacking. It's like I was on the phone. As DS said, Terry goes, they only keep a manager 1 year at a time since she left there 9 years ago. It takes a special personality to deal with special people of low income. True that. I don't have that little arrow here on StreamYard that says I have more. So I have to be careful not to keep screwing up like I did. Yikes. So I really wanted to see the last house that my parents had owned, but I knew a little backstory about that. As I was saying, when Ponderosa Steakhouse was remodeling at the time, that was from the 70s. Wow. Wow. Boy, I remember those. You'd go with your little tray, order what you want, and they'd cook in front of you, and you'd be waiting and sliding your tray and get your salad. And I used to love their French dressing at the Ponderosa Steakhouse. That used to be my favorite. Terry says, I always hated all the government inspections. They were so intrusive, but man, that's how you will find the hoarders and the druggies for sure. Absolutely. I hated eviction court. It sucked. Yeah, I bet, Terry. Absolutely. Okay, I'm finally caught up. I am no Cindy Demanch when it comes to the chat, and I'm not a Rick. I don't read them all. The reason Ponderosa was doing remodeling they were the ceiling tiles, which were in very, very good condition. They were removed because they were asbestos. My parents, for whatever garbage picking reason, they decided to go talk to the manager, get all that asbestos, perfectly good ceiling tiles, and bring it to their house and put that in their attic under the Pink Panther rolled insulation underneath there. And I knew that as a realtor, if I'd have to show that property, write a contract, for example, on my parents' old property, but if I brought a buyer through, I know information about that when I was a little girl living in there until I was 21 years old, of course, and I moved out. I'd have to say that I lived in this property as a young person years ago in the 70s, and these tiles, to the best of my knowledge, are asbestos. Now, would they have to come down? Who's going to abate them? Who's going to squeal? You gotta divulge truths as a realtor, things that you know. And I knew that I knew that I knew. Dia says, Terry girl, I work in drywall and tenant improvement is something I could end up involved with if I found a different employer. But I'm leery of that because of filth, bug infested dwellings. Yeah, yes, indeed, DS. It's hard to repair the units that have been thrashed to the max. And they can do it in record time. Absolutely. True. Terry, I bet potentially violent people in the corridors, theft, very dirty. Okay, here's Cindy with a cues. Realtor info. If somebody dies in the house, does that have to be disclosed to prospective buyers of that house? Yes and no. In my line of business, I specifically had buyers that said to me, I do not want to buy a house that somebody died in that house. Okay. Well, if I knew that 1234 Main Street, I actually, when I owned a handicapped elderly morgue conveyance business, actually physically picked up dead bodies. Or in my case, my truth was Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment. Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment was tore down completely, gone, dust. It's gone. It's not. There's nothing there. So there's nothing there to sell. If you're going to sell the dirt, you're going to say, this is where Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment was at one point in time, but it's been bulldozed. In Wisconsin, if a seller insisted to speak that, I would confer with other brokers in my office, confer with my head broker in the office. I wasn't always the head broker, by the way. I was a trainer. I worked as a head broker when I was at Coldwell Banker, when I worked for another entity in real estate business. But if they insisted to be able to write that down there in the real estate condition report, not as it's pertinent to the building itself. If there was a murder in there, the potential buyer, they have access to records. You can find, especially nowadays, anything out on the internet. You can go to, in my case, Milwaukee County, into the records and read the records of the properties. But remember, back in my parents' day, when my mother's little twin brother had passed away, they had the funeral for him in the piano room of their Milwaukee bungalow. That's called, some people call it the foyer. It was called, in Milwaukee bungalows, the piano room. That's where the bodies would be laid out of the owner, or in this case, my mother's little brother. And I know where that house is because of family. Where my mother used to live wasn't that far from where we grew up. So I knew a little of that back history, but until somebody expressly asks you and you actually know with full knowledge 100%, you say nothing. It's not a contractual thing, but everything can be found out on the internet. Here's Terry. One time after an eviction, the tenant was gone. The toilet was filled to the rim with feces, and they left a huge rattlesnake in the freezer. Whoa! My husband and I shook our heads a lot. Oh, I got a poop story to talk about. Exactly. In California, I heard it does. So now we have to look and see if there's any Terry girl, because she lives in Cali. Cindy said, "This is in Cincinnati. My uncle and my mom died in the house. Does not have to be disclosed as a general practice in real estate. Every state is different. I know nothing about California. So let's see what Terry Girl says later in this chat. Debbie says, Debbie was a realtor as well. I sold a lot of HUD foreclosures. Me too. It was amazing what you would find the condition in. Absolutely. And my nephew bought a HUD house. Debbie, I don't know if this was the case with you. With HUD houses, I made a lot of money with HUD foreclosure houses. That's because the government paid my commission. I made a lot of money selling those. Lots. Whoever invented apartments was an idiot. Humans need a bit of space and not to share walls and yards. Terry Girl, there was a man I met whose father was dead in the house for weeks. They had to gut the walls, ceiling, and the floors in the room. Extensive remediation was required. Now you're talking my language. Milwaukee County Medical Examiner. The stories I can tell you. Maybe that's another live for another day. The house is the one I grew up in. It makes people crazy to be packed in like sardines. Everybody's saying hello to everybody. John's running off again. John is the busiest man. Time to run again. Later. Bye, John. Missed you last night at Barb's. We really did. We missed you. Debbie. Bye, John. We'll be emailing you later on. Terry, I was exhausted. I went to bed early. Terry Girl says, yes, DS. When somebody croaks in a unit, you have to do all sorts of stuff to remediate, losing rent on the unit the entire time. But that's the business, I guess. Absolutely. You have to disclose a death in California. There we go. There is words of wisdom of a California resident right here, ladies and gentlemen. Terry Girl, in this case, the man said his dad's bodily fluids caused the disaster. Oh, yes. And the smell of death. Absolutely. I love selling HUD houses, at least 2% more in commission. Truth. People didn't want to show them. I never mind it. Never mind. You have to wear the Jimmy Choo shoes to look pretty, to sit meeting a person, shaking their hand for the first time. But the reality is, you had a pair of tennis shoes, couple in your car, and one for sure in the office. I had a pair of slippers in my office. It is. The smell of death is very, very hard to get rid of. Okay, we were talking about bathroom issues. Bathroom, I hate to admit this, but that happens a lot more than what you can even imagine. The houses that are vacant, that people just have the cojones, feel compelled to use the facilities, even though it's taped, because they have to, when it's winterized in Wisconsin, tape the toilets saying this house has been winterized, the sinks, people try to turn on the faucets, all the things. Sell a HUD house to somebody that they can't flush the toilet or use the sink. If you know, you know, right, Debbie? Absolutely. The home inspection is going to be at such and such a time. Who's going to turn on the water? HUD. What if the home inspection gets canceled? Who's going to pay for turning on the water, turning off the water? Or in this case, when Terry speaks of the toilet being full, that I have seen that in more times than I even want to imagine. Those huge 5-gallon bottles of water, I had bought more of my fair share of those to clean a toilet of a vacant property that was my listing that I even want to admit. Being a realtor isn't all pretty. Sometimes it's a very poopy job to have, no doubt. And people get sick. Emergencies happen. Stuff happens. Life happens. Critters happen. I understand that in places like, we'll just say Texas, it's not uncommon for critters to come up into the plumbing. If you know, you know. I didn't want to think about it. I just don't. Oh, let's chat. People just don't like following the rules anymore. It seems absolutely. Hey, Anna. There's my friend Anna. Okay, friend Jerry. I have a 25-year-old law enforcement background, now retired. You're bringing back good memories. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad that I'm bringing it back. Hard to sell houses that you know is below standard, I'm sure. Yeah. And if it's in my case with the nephew, it was right across the street from the school. The other kitty corner, as they say, the other corner, 2 houses in, was where her mother, my nephew's wife, her mother lived there. Um, oh, the house that they bought had dogs, that's for sure. The carpeting all had to come up, the flooring, it all had to be brought up. I would be a fool to even remotely think as a buyer back in the day, especially the old fashioned houses, the bungalows would have had people dying in them or had used them as a funeral home, a place where they laid the bodies out. That was common. You didn't go nowadays. Well, for my father died in Las Vegas. I couldn't go and visit him that often because, well, wow. Whew. My father died on, why did all my family members die on important days of our lives? My life. My father died on my ex-husband's birthday. My mother died on my nephew's birthday. There's so many dates and memories and occurrences that happened. I had a buyer client that was a big wig at the airport in Milwaukee. Sold him a house when he moved here. Sold him 2 houses. when my dad was going to be brought back from Vegas, he was going to be brought back because he was a veteran and with honors, but in a box of ashes. So when Terry Girl speaks of that, I remember Jack going to get my dad at Midwest Express. That was the airport company back in the day. They used to make cookies for their passengers on the flights in Midwest Express all the time. The best care in the air, that was their slogan. That was all arranged from my buyer client, unbeknownst to me. My husband had discussions with the funeral home because he wanted to be cremated. My dad's a veteran. My mother had passed away first before my dad. Whenever we travel on I 94 past well, at the time it was called Milwaukee County Stadium. I don't even know what it's called now. The ballpark in Milwaukee that costs a fortune with the retracting dome. I waved to my parents up on the hill by the VA cemetery. That VA cemetery is loaded full. My sister's husband had passed away when my nephew was 6 and the other nephew was 3, something like that. He was a veteran. At that cemetery, you could be buried 3 deep. So they put my sister's husband first in the hole. Then, second, my sister was buried on top of him. There's another space on top for whomever, don't know, but that's how they buried at Milwaukee County VA Cemetery. That's completely loaded. The one that's in Racine County, that's, if it's not full already, it is. They're starting to bury people, Milwaukee residents up north, here by me at the Veterans Cemetery up here. Let's catch up with the chat. Yes, aroma is a huge thing, hence the medical examiner stories. Burning, people that would jump over the Hone Bridge into Lake Michigan to their deaths. They pop. People that drowned when you pick them up. Enough said. Not sure how it is there, but the California tenant laws definitely favor the tenants these days. I would never be a landlord. Absolutely. Dia says, Terry Girl, we have a furnished empty master suite in the apartment, but I am too afraid of renting it out because if they do not pay, I can't change locks or anything like that. It turns into a ... True that. Just leave my typo on the screen forever, Jerry. Oops. Did you have a bad typo? I didn't even pay attention to it. I didn't pay attention to it. That's okay. Difficult court proceeding. True. Some judges are tenant friendly and some owner friendly. It's a crapshoot for evictions. Absolutely true. It's scary, DS, when you have a tenant. I don't think I'd handle the risk very well. Even the process to move them in these days doesn't allow you to research their past history. Facts. True. Terry Girl, we had a lady move out at the end of October. It came down to 11:59 p.m. on the last day, and the room was a disaster. I renovated it. Wow. The stories, the I even had a homeless, it was a condo in a decent area of Milwaukee. Um, the municipality was called Oak Creek, 2 words, OAK space CREEK, Oak Creek. A lot of Milwaukee slang people would call it O Creek. It's like, no, Oak Creek. That's neither here nor there. But if a former realtor that did a showing didn't lock the property properly and it's vacant, you as the listing broker needs to go and check. That's your fiduciary duty to your seller client. You can't be there round the clock, but you should at least be looking at your property the minimum once a week and check in there. I see, I see, I see, I see. Oh, we had that one already. Angel, have a great weekend, Jerry. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, Angel, for coming on. Thank you so much for popping on with us. I'm going to leave your comment on. You're going to be leaving us hugs and hugs and kisses. Homeless person was in this condo, decent area, vacant property. Went there, scared out of my mind. Person sleeping in a bag with garbage bags around them. Basically, their luggage, their possessions were around them. Living in the seller's house. The seller was in Florida. Scared the daylights out of me. I had to call the police. What do you do? Terry says, I missed Charger Mopar this morning. I hope he is enjoying Tampa. Me too. I do as well. I saw a post by Juliet. She was pictured in front of the stakes, and then you could see Juliet's a very, very skinny lady. And she's pictured by Mitch, taller than Juliet. So now you guys get to see in perspective. See, I thought Juliet would be tall. She talks about herself being 5'9". And I thought Mitch said he was 6 foot. So Mitch is, of course, taller than Juliet. So when they're all together, Juliet looks like a twig. She looks very skinny, like a model. Juliet looked that way. Standing next to Mitch and was, I don't remember. Let's look it up. Here we go. That dinner last night, I watched it for a while. Me too. I listened for the most part at work because the boss was lurking, of course. They all seem happy to finally get up from the tables. That was a long time sitting there. Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have this new code on your phones where you have to enter a 6-digit code? I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. And I think when it updated itself, it was just added, and I'm not real fond of it. Hey, Retired Rick. Hi, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Mitch is 5'11", Terry Girl said. Wow, well, Juliet was definitely more petite next to Mitch. Let me see if I can come up with that Juliet picture. Coach Juliet. And, oh, sugar. I have to enter her name, Juliet Edens. Julie, Julie, Juliet Edens. View channel. And posts. Turn off my light. This is the picture, in case you guys and gals didn't see. This is the picture that Juliet has. Whoops. There she is by the stakes. She's standing with her arms extended. And there she is with Dr. Kiltz. Oh, the glare. Yeah, bad glare, Jared. Bad glare. There she is with Dr. Kiltz. Here she is with the Adam Lacey. They look like they're the same size. Adam Lacey and Juliet. Mitch Kiltsey and Juliet. I don't know who that person is behind, if anything. And there is No Slow Gary's son, and Juliet right there. Those were the pictures, and you can see that on Juliet's posts. Picture posts. She posted a few pics this morning. Yes. Okay, let me get myself situated here. There was a live camera in Kilt's large room that was on. One man didn't know, walked directly up to the camera, removed his upper denture, and put it back in. Like that camera was his mirror. I was at work. I did not see that. She posted a few pics this morning. Yep, that was the ones I just showed. And there's Barbara. Our new star. Barbara has got several songs out. Let me get the Google going here. Hang on a second. Hey Google, can you play Healing Humanity by Barbara Touche?
I couldn't find Healing Humanity by Barbara Touche on Spotify. Would you like me to search for something else?
Oh, you played it yesterday. You're a liar. Yes, I would. I don't have Google or Alexa in my basement. It looks like there might be a slight mix-up, is what this computer's saying here, with the name or the artist. I couldn't find a song titled Healing Humanity by Barbara Touche. However, there's a few possibilities. So then it goes into Barbara Mandrell, Heal the World by Michael Jackson, Healing Humanity, a book, is a well-known book, theological work by Alexander Webster with this exact title. Oh, knock it off. Let me go to, listen, you did this yesterday on me. Let's go to iHeartRadio and see what happens. Uh-oh. Sorry for the commercial. Let's see. Healing Humanity on iHeartRadio. Oh, if I learn how to spell Humanity, enter. Okay, Barbara, Healing Humanity is not on iHeartRadio for whatever that's worth. But I know I asked Alexa yesterday, and Alexa today was playing it for me every time I passed her upstairs. And I've been down here for quite some time, not talking to that Alexa girl. There we go. I wonder if it's the weather turned out. I wonder if the weather turned out well today in Tampa. Hopefully it's not too cold. I know they looked sweatshirty yesterday. DS says, Terry girl, Mitch was smart and he knew better that the camera was on. Absolutely. Kills is a little shrimp. Did you guys ever see the picture? If you saw Erin's got a mock-up picture of me on her Butter Woman commercials. That's where she got the polka dot idea from with Kilts and myself. I'm standing next to Kilts and I had my polka dot dress on. And he Kilts is so go, hurry up, go. He's just that way in real life like he is on the interwebs. I'm sure Gary was happy to meet Mitch. He's always on his panel. Absolutely. I missed that DS 111. Too funny. Yeah, I missed it too. Barbara is our new artist, composer, singer extraordinaire. I just know that I am happy to know her. Barbara, please remember us, little low life people, when you become a mega superstar, girlfriend. Yeah, stupid Spotify. You are not kidding right there. I think you have to pronounce it touchy, not touche. Okay, I did that yesterday, remember? I think you were on with me yesterday, so I'm going to ask again. Hey, Google, can you play the song Healing Humanity by Barbara Tucci?
I'm sorry, I couldn't find Healing Humanity by Barbara Tucci on Spotify. Is there anything else I can help you with?
She's useless. She is useless, and I don't want to say bad words because whatever. Look what happened in just a matter of on my cell phone, a matter of a couple hours since we were all talking last night. Right. Touchy. Touchy, touche. I asked, at least my Google device is just being a bear. Now, Alexa knows who you are because she's been playing you left and right upstairs. I love Barbara Mandrell songs growing up. Me too. I remember the Mandrell sisters doing their variety show. Remember that in the 70s? It takes up to 4 days, I was told. Yesterday, I was just on my device and it was coming up and playing all the songs, especially on Alexa, especially. She's on Amazon Music for sure. Yep. Maybe the other venues will wait to see if it takes off on Amazon before they add her. Maybe, perhaps, Journey of the Carnivore Woman will be out Tuesday along with another 7 songs. Yes. Oh, hush you. There was a gal in a piano dress. Did you see her? Yes, I did. I love that dress. Loved it. Loved it. I was thinking maybe, do you think she was hired staff? I did see her. I saw a picture from the last event where Dr. Nelson and Carrie took a picture with Rick, Carrie, and Dr. Nelson. It looked like they were posing next to a monument. Hey, Spanky. Hi, how are you? What the hell? Hello, everyone, said Spanky. Terry girl, what's a piano dress? The orange dress? I remember her. Alexa is smarter than Siri. Siri must be a blonde. LOL. That dress was cool. Absolutely cool. Well, I have gone through all of just a few, in a matter of 5 minutes, my little cat scratching notes that I took down about my real estate memories of 24 years. Why didn't I wait till I had 25 years, even 25 years under my belt? I don't know. Am I going to last 15 years at this place that I work at right now? That's another issue. That is going to be June 4th, June 3rd, June 3rd. Yeah. Will I make it? Do I retire? that moment? Do I retire at the quarterly fiscal report out, which is the end of July? In other words, August 1st. Should I retire then? Should I wait until next year? Do I wait until Trump gets out of office? What do I do? I don't know. All I know is I will continue paying all the bills, and Lord help me with that vehicle. Anything else go wrong on that thing? No, no. It's whatever's going to happen. It's going to happen. I just don't know when that's going to happen. When that is. Terry Girl says Rick needs somebody to dress him for events, but then again, he wouldn't be our Rick. That orange shirt. I know that he is big and tall, and I think he had mentioned he's a size large. So maybe I should send him a couple of big and tall shirts. Usually they're inexpensive from the big and tall men's store because tall, and he wears that orange shirt very, very, very bright. I am on with Thomas at 4 o'clock Eastern. Oh, right now it is almost 2 o'clock Central, which means it's almost 3 o'clock Eastern. Okay, we'll be off. We'll be off, and we will make sure we tune in to watch you. Hopefully, Thomas is in a good mood, Barb. I hope so too. I hope he's doing well. He wasn't doing very well last week. He wasn't feeling good, and then he had spoke on a video to all of us. So I've been keeping him in my prayers for sure. You can probably get away with baby and shirt shenanigans while on Thomas's, Barb. Yeah. Yes, yes. Oh, yes. I asked Barbara yesterday because I don't know what these algorithms do with songs. And as Terry was doing her computer searching and Barbara was reading the chat, well, I fell asleep on you guys. Sorry. Barbara, you lulled me to sleep last night again, too. But you only make a couple of pennies for 1,000 people that listen to your tunes. So I don't have any qualms every time I pass Alexa for her to play the songs, play Barbara's songs. I will do it till the cows come home. If I pass her, and we have four Alexa units in our house, none of which is in my basement. Ask me why. I don't know. But I think it's even on my device too. I know I have Alexa on my device. So we were teasing Barbara yesterday saying, don't forget us little people when you become a superstar and you go up there as Songwriter of the Year, presenting Songwriter of the Year award to Barbara. All the applause. Yes. I wonder if songwriters, let's just say Barbara Mandel, just because we brought that name up earlier, ask ChatGPT to write their songs. Do you think that Chris Cooking, Nashville's wife, Ash Taylor, does her own songs or she does ChatGPT? What do you think? I don't know. I don't own that program that Barbara owns. I know that Helix said yesterday in the chat she was playing around with it. I just tell Alexa to play my Barb playlist. There, I haven't made a playlist, so I have to do that, and I will do that. Absolutely. And her half pennies will filter in slowly but surely. Absolutely. The PepsiCo company. Oh, here's a little bit of news. The PepsiCo company, I think they own Doritos, supposedly, in order to bring sales due to the Super Bowl, they've lowered the price on Doritos because the prices of these seed oil snack, or let's call it what they call it, duck food, is only worth feeding to the ducks. We should not be eating any seed oils or any of that corn Dorito garbage. But I digress. It's hitting them hard as producers of the junk food and the seed oil companies for them to put a sales price on it. Look at how, shoot, the bag of porking good. If you just look at the back of a bag, I did it a couple weeks ago in the grocery store. It says, which in my opinion is a small bag, serves 4 servings. No way. I used to eat a Sam's Club family size. Nope, it was party size. The big bags. How can I get that in screen? The big bags of Doritos myself in front of the TV. That's just wrong on any level that you want to say. Thanks, Barbara. Barbara says, "You're too funny, Jerry." That Doritos thing is a travesty at best. It certainly is. The big companies are scampering to keep their addicts, and they are. And those taste scientists out there, shoot, they're crazy. Another news, buzz news. Minute Maid Juice Company. They're going to be no more. They're going to stop making juice. The frozen cans, the kind we all grew up in. Minute Maid. Yep, no more. What's going to happen with that? Terry says, "I don't know how people sleep at night. I swear." Yeah, yes, indeed. If it's not a meal for me, I just don't want to go back to doing that. I just don't. I, mhm. If I had a bowl of Doritos in front of me and I'd be at a broker's open, because that's how this conversation started with real estate and brokers opens. I don't think in passing, to go ask Alexa to play Barbara's song, I don't think in passing I would just grab a Dorito and throw one in my head. No, people have in passing passed bowls of pretzels and threw a few in their head. If you know, you know. I have got some corned beef. I'm trying to look see how much longer it is. Corned beef going right now in the dehydrator. I cooked it in the slow cooker first, put in the refrigerator overnight, and then put it about an eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch into the dehydrator. It should take 8 hours, maybe 6. A lot of the pieces aren't uniform. I sliced it myself. I didn't use my slicer just because corned beef is that way. I probably should have frozen the corned beef. But I know from previous cooking corned beef in the dehydrator. Well, first off, corned beef's already cooked. It was in the slow cooker, slow and low for a night while I slept. Took it out. People that dehydrate corned beef say to remove the fat cap. The professionals. I left the fat cap on. It's easier to transfer. But when I do dehydrating of corned beef, because you're going across the grain, of course, not with the grain. You're going across the grain for a easier bite. It has a tendency to stick on the grates. So I put it on the parchment paper with the holes that you use for an air fryer. I put that in there. I set it for 8 hours. We'll see what it's like before I go to bed tonight. But I do want to make a batch of bacon. Now that I can finally eat bacon and not my dogs in the dehydrator, I'm going to be making myself some super fatty, super thick bacon in the dehydrator tonight and enjoy that for sure. That Dorito thing is a travesty. Oh, yeah, we got that. We got that one. Here we go. Carrie's show today was really good, said Terry. Girl, I posted it to Facebook about how tainted water is and such, all full of poop and plastic. Yeah. Woo. At least it makes people think for sure. We have well water here. Our dogs, this is just how it's situated here at our house. The well is closest to the garage over by the other side, not by the forest side that you guys see, because the forest side, we don't allow our dogs in the forest because of ticks and the like, and other critters nonetheless. But the well is on the other side. The dogs don't poop there on that side. But water, leeches, filtration, everything, it's all relative. It all is. And they say, whoever they are, that in the course of our lifetime, we're supposed to have the credit card size amount of plastics in our body. Or did they say in our brain? Plastic. Plastic. Give me the good old stainless. I'm telling you. So good. I would struggle at a meetup. I don't like parties enough. Here, Terry says, I have so many diabetic friends. I've never been, but so many people are, fat or not. It's crazy, but most are kind of fat. True. True. If my cardiologist didn't lay the law down to me at the time before he left this mail to go to the Arizona mail, he laid it out to me under no certain terms and all the horrific things. And he wasn't like a jerk. He didn't use jerk doctor voice. He just spit out the truths. You will lose a toe, your foot, perhaps below your knee, just like your grandmother. You're going to have a heart attack like your father had. Oh, and your mother that died an untimely death of the cancer. That's going to be in your future too. By the way, did I let you know your last blood test was that you're a type 2 diabetic? Are you scared? Do you need to maybe change your diet right now? Remember, my mother died of cancer. It was in her colon. She smoked cigarettes right till the end. If my mother said it this way, so I'm just using my mother's logic from back in the day. I'm going to die. I might as well enjoy myself while I'm on this earth. She smoked those more cigarettes, the ones that look like the big, long, skinny cigars. She smoked that right up until she died. And here all of us kids are at her funeral. The luncheon, smoking, drinking. Oh, what happened? Oh, I'm at the wake for my mother. What, she die of cancer? Please. I have now quit smoking for, it had to have been 10 years. I don't remember. I can tell you the day I went carnivore, April 1st last year, the date, if you're taking notes, like I know Tanya is. But I can't tell you the date that I quit smoking because I would cheat. I'd go downstairs here in our walkout basement. I'd go downstairs. I'd cheat a cigarette here or there. Not that my husband couldn't see the smoke above me. He quit smoking before I did. But now, the cost just itself. Give me a porterhouse steak, a full-on rack of ribs. Give me that. Same cost of a pack of cigarettes. If you know, you know, right? Do you still have your Christmas tree up? I do. I call it my forest tree. There you go. It's all barren. No, No ornaments on there. It's my in the middle of a forest tree, in the middle of my basement. Yes, I do. Terry's going, this girl's crazy. She's crazy. But the well and all the underwater aquifers are getting leached in crap. Right. We actually had a friend who spread the poop sludge on crops for a job. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Knowing veg is being fertilized by human poop is enough to make you not want to eat a vegetable for days. True that, Terry girl. Absolutely. No wonder vegetables stink up our bathrooms. Absolutely. And it can be just a mere a bag of McDonald's French fries. We got the seed oils going against people. Did I tell you guys? I think I did in a drive this past week. The husband is now taking the dogs to McDonald's and giving them burgers. How much is a McDonald's burger? I don't know. I have to ask the Google because I haven't been to McDonald's since last year. Not joking. That's the truth. Alexa, how much does a McDonald's hamburger cost? A plain, small hamburger. Oh, it's not Alexa. Hey, Google. How much does a McDonald's plain child's burger cost?
A McDonald's plain child's burger is officially listed as a hamburger. While McDonald's prices vary significantly by location, and whether you are ordering in-store or via a delivery app, here is the current pricing landscape for early 2026. Estimated prices. Individual hamburger, $1.99 to $3.19 asterisk. Ordering it plain typically costs the same as a standard hamburger.
Crazy.
Which normally
$1.99 the minimum. And how much is a pound of grass-fed ground beef that you buy from Aldi's? I know it's $5 and change. Those little hockey pucks from my babies, they're getting the ketchup, they're getting the mustard, they're getting the pickle, they're getting the bun, they're getting the hockey puck. Who? Make it make sense, because it doesn't make any sense why you want to feed dogs the carnivore diet in their house, but take them out for a treat and give them a McDonald's burger. Oh, and then on your way home, as you're driving by, you're going to pick yourself up a quart of the Dairy Queen frozen whatever, because we all know it's not ice cream. It's not. It's seed oils. You guys read the label. We're going to eat a quart of that because we're a grown arse human. And that Dairy Queen now offers your dogs pup cups. They'll give them a scoop of ice cream, a scoop of whatever their frozen product is that they produce. I used to eat that stuff all the time. Dairy Queen is a staple in northern Wisconsin. Well, Culver's slow but sure, but Culver's, I buy that for the husband. I came home last weekend with 2 value packs custard, and in the garbage, he already downed a whole quart of the Dairy Queen frozen surprise himself. Help me make, and I'm making the dogs Dr. Kiltz's ice cream. It doesn't make any sense, does it? No, people die when their liver filter quits, right? So you can imagine what chemicals are in the poop, and they recycle it in our water too. It sucks to think about. Absolutely. I vape, but quit smoking 9 years ago. Spanky says, they say vaping is just as bad in other ways, sometimes worse. And there's George. Hello, George. Hello, mate. Greetings from Lainey and George in the UK. What's a McDonald's? Hey, Spanky and George. Hi, Grandma, says Spanky, and George said, hi, Grandma. Well, it's 2 o'clock, everybody. 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. So I have been on now for a couple of hours talking about real estate, and look where we've come. I do not have a topic yet for tomorrow on Sunday, but I think it's going to be shorter. I think so. I have got to listen to Thomas because Grandma's going to be on there, and I have a client call to make next. Woo! Busy, busy. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for coming along with me today for this live wealth of knowledge, my tour of what it was like to be a realtor, and a few of the funny stories and kind of scary stories, in my opinion. Goodbye, everybody. Hugs and kisses to everybody. Love you, love you. I'll be seeing you on the Thomas Live. See you tomorrow. Cheers.